Hello, my name is Sven Åke Bjørke and I work at the University of Agder. If you look at this title, Academic Writing and Critical Thinking, that is what this short course is about. As probably many of you have experienced, it is difficult. You get told all the time by your teachers that you're too descriptive. You have to be more analytical. You must, in some way, demonstrate that you are critical, can work independent, show new perspectives, come up with new ideas. You have to contribute something new and not just describe what others have done. And let us have a look at this course, how to improve in these respects. The content of the first of these lectures is an overview of how to think critically, the argument, the line of reasoning, skepticism, critical analysis of others. The line of reasoning, what is really that? Let's have a further look. Thinking critically skills. You have to think through. Do we believe all we see or hear? Why don't we? Why do we? So, you probably have heard when you were a child that the moon is made of cheese. You probably also have heard that some people think the earth is flat. Or recently I've heard that global warming is a hoax made by the Chinese. Do you believe this or don't we? Why? What do we do when we try to find out whether something is true or not? Well, you have to think through from the top of your head. What do we know? What do I know already? Or I'm fairly convinced I know. We start there. And then we think, is this new information, is it reasonable? Does it go along with what I already believe or not? Then we check the source. Checking the source is always very important. And then we look at, are there any possible flaws? We come back to that. What is a flaw? How do we argue and persuade others? This is very often what we hear when you write an article to present or publish. We have to argue, we have to be persuasive, we have to bring something new. How do we do that? What is a convincing argument? And how much information is really required? The best way of being really boring is when somebody asks you what time it is, and you come up with a story of the clocks. What level of doubt is acceptable under the circumstances? There is always some doubt, whatever. To real scientists, there is some doubt. And we have to decide what level of doubt is acceptable. You have to assess your sources. You have to identify when we need more information. How far am I? You are unsure that you can explain convincingly to others. If you're sure, yes, I can convince others, then you're well on your way. You have to select the right type and level of information. Again, what is that? Apply critical thinking to what you hear, see, and do. You have to apply critical thinking to literature, a book. Anybody can write a book. And how do you know that it is correct what you read in this book? Don't accept it. Be critical. So you have to interpret the situations. Maybe the author of the book you're reading or the article is in a very different context from yours. You have to be very critical on what you write or say to others. Maybe you have misunderstood. Maybe they misunderstood the words you use. Just think it over. Reflect on what you're saying. And then the argument. Is it really an argument you have? Let's start with the overall argument. That is your position. That is the argument that you want to propose. You want to convince others. That's the overall argument. And you have to support your overall argument with contributing arguments, the reasons for why you have taken that position. And then you organize these contributing arguments in a line of reasoning. And that is a set of reasons structured to support your overall argument. Line of reasoning. I really would like you to think over. You have a line of reasoning in your essay. That means it is logical, it follows one follow the other, etc. So you present your reasons and evidence in order to make it clear how to interpret your argument. It should lead forward with a clear direction, with one piece of evidence leading to the next. And it helps avoid hopping back and forth randomly. That is very common, and if you do that too often, you can be sure that you will fall down at least one grade. And it helps avoid going in circles. So you have to think of structure your essays, structure your articles, make a progress in them. The line of reasoning helps you when selecting the salient points, the points relevant to the argument. Stick to your substantive point, the core of the argument. Substantive point is where you go. Avoid the marginal issues. It is so easy to start talking about anything else but what you really want to talk about. And you want to avoid tautologies. That is, unnecessary repetitions in different words. You have to prove in some way that skepticism. What really is that? Well, that is that you bring in elements of polite doubt. It holds open the possibility that the information you have might be flawed or incomplete. Constructive doubt brings in other possibilities or perspectives. You have to have some rational thought. The rationale means you have been thinking through things and know why you think what you think. Know your own reasons. So what are the reasons for what we believe and do? Evaluate your own beliefs and actions. Be critical to yourself. Are you able to present to others your reasons for your beliefs and actions? An academic will change or modify position when given better, more valid, and reliable arguments. But until then, stick to your line of reasoning. You have to be able to give a critical analysis of yourselves and others. The critical analysis of others, you have to identify their position, reasons, and conclusions. You have to analyze how they select and combine reasons to make a line of reasoning. Assess whether their reasons support their conclusion. Assess whether their reasons are based on good evidence. How do they know? Why do they believe? You have to be curious. That is the typical thing for anybody working in research. You have to be curious. Is this person cherry picking, just picking out those pieces of information that suits him or her? Do you identify positive and negative aspects? You have to think of both. There are some negative and there are some positives. Is there another way of seeing this? Get the other perspective. There is always one. So when you take part in a discussion and think that now everything has been said, I just have to agree with everybody. But then think another way. There must be another perspective. You find it. In the next lesson, we are going to talk about argumentation.